If you are a runner that wants to race faster, whether you are a miler or an ultra marathoner, you're going to want more endurance. But did you know that there are actually only 3 avenues for improving your endurance? What I'm going to do in this video is talk about these 3 avenues for improving your endurance and how to best take advantage of each one of them, because they're not made equal and some are much more productive than others. So let's talk about these 3 avenues of endurance. If you're a distance runner, you want to get faster, you're going to want to work on endurance through your metabolism, through your running economy, and through VO2 Max. Let's first talk about metabolic endurance. Now, this is actually what most of us think about when we think about endurance. Your metabolic endurance is your body's ability to produce energy. It's your body's ability to clear exercise byproducts like lactate from your bloodstream and muscle cells as you're exercising. So if you've ever done a tempo run, for example, you are running a lactate threshold workout that is designed to help you remove that lactate from your bloodstream. Now, this is actually the most effective way at improving your endurance. So I wanted to start with it so that there's zero ambiguity here. If you want to become a better runner, you've got to improve what's going on inside your body, inside your cells. And the best way to improve your metabolic endurance is through your training itself. Things like relatively high mileage, things like your consistent long run that you do, hopefully every week, and things like aerobic workouts. Everything from progression runs to aerobic threshold or steady state runs, anything where you're running at marathon pace, half marathon pace, and of course your tempo or lactate threshold pace. These are what I'll call aerobic paces. They work incredibly well at building the aerobic metabolism. And if we think back to what legendary cross-country coach Mark Wetmore, who coaches the University of Colorado Boulder cross-country team, says, he says we don't have any secrets to our training. We are always patiently building the aerobic metabolism. And that's why his teams are so great. Now, you can also build this metabolic endurance through cross-training, which is why I really love when runners incorporate pool running, cycling, or the elliptical into their program, because a lot of us can't run high mileage. Not all of us can run 80, 90, 100 miles a week. I know I sure broke whenever I tried to go over 90 miles a week. And so I used a lot of pool running and cycling when I was training at my peak to help me keep up with the other much more talented guys that I was racing against on my cross-country team. And you know what? It really did help. I remember the summer before my senior year in college, I was running about 80 miles a week, but I was doing 2 to 4 hours of cross training on top of that. And I had some friends being like, holy cow, Jason's running the equivalent of like 100 miles a week. I better get my training in order so that he doesn't beat me. And I had one of the best seasons I've ever had after using aerobic cross training to supplement my running. So you don't necessarily have to build endurance through only running. You can supplement with cross training. But of course, running is the most effective way at doing this because after all, we are runners. So the law of specificity certainly applies here. So if you are someone who's running low mileage, you're not doing a consistent long run, you're not doing aerobic workouts at marathon pace, half marathon pace, tempo pace, and anywhere in between, then this is one of the best, most effective ways at producing more endurance for you. So get on the higher mileage plan if you can. Try to supplement with cross training. Be very consistent with your long run, and you are doing so much to metabolically prime your body for endurance. And the end result is you're going to be a lot faster. The next leg of this 3-legged stool of endurance we're talking about is your running economy. Now, your running economy is simply how much energy it takes you to run at a given speed. And those runners who are more efficient, who can run at a faster pace without using more energy, are going to have more endurance. Now, running economy isn't just metabolic. It's not what's going on inside your body. It's very much mechanical. It's how your body is moving. And it's also very much neuromuscular. This is really a coordination issue. And that's why we can use training methods outside of just running to improve our running economy. So for example, one of the best ways to improve your running economy is to simply practice it a lot, which in running means run high mileage. So run more and more so that you are practicing the very thing that you want to get better at. But we don't necessarily have to just run a lot, because coordination and more efficient running economy is kind of based on how well you move. Moving in a variety of ways is super helpful. So not only is running a lot at a relatively easy pace very helpful, but also running a very little amount but at a very hard effort is also really important. So I love to see runners doing regular strides 2 to 3 days a week. I love to see runners doing hill sprints, or in other words, running very, very fast on the regular. This is an act of coordination. You are improving that neuromuscular communication pathway between your brain and your legs. And that is going to help you improve your running economy so that you can run the same pace, but use a lot less energy. And that's going to leave you in a position where you can get more out of your body and end up running faster. There's also a lot of other things we can do besides running a lot and sprinting to improve our running economy. Some of the best things to do are lift heavy weights. That's going to improve those communication pathways, as well as form cues that are really helpful at reinforcing some of these really efficient movement patterns, as well as form drills. So if you were to incorporate maybe 3 or 4 drills before your faster workouts, this is a wonderful way of practicing some of these areas of coordination and really helping you kind of build them into your library of movement skills that you have. That's going to carry over really well to your running so that you can run faster, have great economy, and you'll actually feel good doing it. If you lift heavy weights, sprint regularly, run a lot, and you're doing form drills, you are going to feel very, very good when you're running. You're going to feel efficient, you're going to feel smooth, you're going to have a nice flow to your stride. And it's that effortless stride that is a stride that has a very high running economy.
You know, I'm not that big into supplements, but I do love AG1 by Athletic Greens. I consider it my nutrition insurance, helping me cover all my bases so I know I'm not missing out on anything my body needs, especially when I'm training really hard. I try to eat really well, but of course, AG1 is that extra security that gives me peace of mind over my diet. 1 scoop per day, and I'm getting 75 vitamins and minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, antioxidants, and adaptogens. You can try it out too at athleticgreens.com/Jason, and they're going to throw in a free year's worth supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Check it out at athleticgreens.com/Jason.
Now we're on to the last leg of this 3-legged stool of endurance, and it's not something that we should get too excited about. This is VO2 Max. VO2 Max is probably the thing that you're most aware of from all of these different metrics of endurance, because we've been taught that VO2 Max is one of the best indicators of performance, right? You want a high VO2 Max. Well, first of all, VO2 Max is simply the amount of oxygen, the volume of oxygen, the maximum volume of oxygen that your body can process. And it's not actually something you can really train. So studies have shown that VO2 max is largely untrainable. Sometimes it's really low in very highly trained athletes, and it can be very high in people who aren't training very hard. And the other thing is that it's the least correlated with performance of any of these metrics that we've discussed today. So I want to encourage all of you, don't worry about VO2 max. It's not something that we should be actively trying to improve, because it's pretty much genetic. Unless you chose great parents with very high VO2 maxes, then you're probably not going to be able to really budge your VO2 max too much. Yes, it's probably going to go up when you're running very high mileage. It's probably going to go up a little bit when you're doing hard workouts, you know, at 3K pace, 5K pace. Those very challenging workouts are excellent at training the VO2 Max system. But that doesn't mean you're really going to improve it in any measurable, substantial way. So I would much rather athletes focus on training for performance rather than on training for VO2 Max. At the end of the day, runners, endurance is fairly simple. It's producing energy over the long term in an efficient way. If you're running a lot, if you're lifting heavy weights, if you're sprinting regularly, you're going to be building that aerobic metabolism. You're going to be improving your running economy so that you can ultimately race a lot faster. It's not rocket science, but it's also something that is a little bit counterintuitive sometimes, because high mileage helps with both your metabolic endurance and with your running economy. And while VO2 Max is surely an important part of endurance, it's not really something that you can train. It's pretty much genetic, and it's not really worth our time to focus on it too much. So if you're a new runner, I hope this is giving you some ideas on what to focus on. Focus on consistency. Focus on gradually building your mileage over the long term. Focus on lifting weights, doing form drills. If you're working with a coach, this would be a wonderful time to ask them about any form cues that might help with your unique personal form issues that you might have. So a coach will be able to look at you run and say, you know what, I think these 2 to 3 cues would be great for you. And if you are working on these very high level, big picture issues over the long term, you're going to be building endurance, and your progress might seem relatively slow and gradual from week to week, but quarter to quarter, you are going to be making substantial gains in fitness, and you're going to be capable of racing quite fast.